Thanks for having me here. Thanks for the invite. My name's Maroun. I'm a community organizer with Rogue Climate. We're a nonprofit grassroots organization based here in Southern Oregon, more specifically the Rogue Valley. We have an office here and then as well as on the coast. I was invited here by one of my amazing volunteers. Name is Shane. They live here locally and they talk to me a lot about the kind of work he does and this group does. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to kind of share some of the things we've been doing, like the real action part of how we get change done here in our communities. This photo that you see here is a community art project led by a lot of youth and college students back around 2013. And the prompt was let's all come together, build little pieces of a salmon that represent what worries you about climate change and what your hope is for a better future. A lot more people came out than expected. As you can see, this is a very, very large, big salmon. 1,200 people showed up, and this was kind of the seeds of Rogue Climate. From there, people really loved the art aspect of it, but they saw how many people who actually came out to this, and once you're in like a space like that where you can feel people's like power when you're together, from there, people said like, yeah, let's start like an action group here, and that's kind of how Rogue Climate started. So Road Climate is a nonprofit. Our main thing is actually, I'll start with this one. This is our mission statement. It's to empower Southern Oregon and South Coast communities most impacted by climate change. We see those who are most impacted, such as low income, rural, youth, and communities of color. We hope to uplift them and help those communities as they deal with the most, or as they will be facing the harsher effects of climate change. And we do that by organizing for clean energy, sustainable jobs, and a healthy environment. We do a lot of different things. We do legislative policy work. We do grant, like fundraising, stuff like that. My main role and a key part of Road Climate is the community organizing aspect of it, bringing people together to win concrete improvements in people's lives. And I think what differentiates Rogue Climate from different environmental orgs is really going to the root cause of a lot of the climate catastrophes or like our individual and systemic practices that have got us to this point of the climate crisis. Um, Recycling, renewable stuff, that's great. We love it. We that has made lots of improvement, but we're unfortunately still here facing yeah, a lot of the effects here in Southern Oregon and just around nationally. And we see if we want to tackle those issues, we have to go to the root causes at them. Um, so yeah, let me make sure I got this. We have like just a little bit more background information about road climate. We have four main issue areas that we focus on: stopping fossil fuels, youth leadership development, energy justice, and mutual aid. Um, there was a 1 billion, multi-billion dollar pipeline, the Jordan Cove LNG pipeline, being proposed here on the coast of the U.S. And Road Climate was a big organization to organize community for over 10 years. And we actually were able to shut down that pipeline. And we got final word of that 2 years ago, where the final, even after all this pushback, there were still developers trying to push in proposals and stuff. But we got the word that they are no longer doing that anymore. FERC has given up, the main utility company trying to push this pipeline. So that's a big win for us. And then Road Climate was also a big relief center after the Almeda fires back in 2020. If you remember, there was a lot of wildfires everywhere, especially along the West Coast. Here in the Rogue Valley, we had two communities in Talent and Phoenix completely destroyed. Um, a lot of their populations was Latino communities. So Road Climate was that face and that place where people, more vulnerable communities, especially with undocumented folks, who might not have the most trust in our government systems to give aid, were able to help with that. So we do have a big role in our community. More specifically, one of our issue areas is youth work. We see youth are going to be the ones dealing with the catastrophe and the effects the longest. And they're also, I think, one of the most passionate groups and really willing to call out the things that need to be called out and take action on things that actually need to move. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how Road Climate started through youth organizing. So a lot of our work really does invest in developing our youth's organizing skills, their confidence, just any extra support with people who are dealing with even the mental health effects of um, climate change. Um, we had a recent win through the here in the Rogue Valley, and that's kind of what I was gonna want to talk to y'all about. It was a policy win here, and it was led by this awesome group of high schoolers who, yeah, they're fighting for a cleaner and more equitable future. This group started following the Almeida fire. A lot of them were either affected by the fire themselves or knew someone um, who was affected by fires. And then following that, they really saw the call for action. The climate crisis is not getting any better. People's homes were destroyed. Their homes were almost destroyed. So they organized a 400 student plus a walkout from their school. And the school that happened at, that's a majority of the school's population. So we got the entire school to walk out in support of this policy that this Road Climate Action Team was leading. They introduced it to the public strategically, and it was a big push to get the city to move away from fossil fuels and go more towards renewable energy, specifically because that is one of the main factors in our climate crisis. And yeah, we won in February after 2 to 3 years, which is a big win, and we are excited to see what's next. Yeah, so here's some more photos. 2023, people walked out. Yeah. So originally, what we had was this thing called the Climate and Clean Air Policy Package. This was the original policy that was introduced to the city council, which was more of a harsher, complete ban on natural gas. And then, yeah, limiting how much gas can be used on in homes. After 2 to 3 years and a lot of different political changes and legal barriers, our policy had to change. We weren't able to get everything that we wanted in the original policy package, but we did get to pass one of the main factors, which was, I'll get into it here right after this, but it's called the carbon pollution impact fee. That's what we won. And even though it wasn't everything we were asking for, it is one of the most effective ways. I think this policy was more effective than the other ones in the package, and this is the first of its state. Uh, this policy is the first of its kind in the state of Oregon to really limit the use of natural gas. Um, And yeah, apologies. I see, I catch myself. Though I think the words that we use are really important. There's nothing natural about natural gas. It's methane gas. It's fossil fuels. So yeah, if I use that, that's what I'm referring to. But yeah, this is a little bit more about what we won. This was the carbon pollution impact fee. It incentivizes building homes 100% electric, equipping them with energy efficient appliances. It imposes an upfront fee on installing gas appliances only in new residential construction. Here in Oregon, because we don't just do local work, we do work at the state level. We Oregon main source of energy is hydropower and electric, and we're at the point where electric utilities are less expensive than methane gas utilities. And that was a big thing that we were pushing through our city council to make this policy happen. Um, you can kind of see the numbers of the fees that folks would be paying. It's based on the social cost of carbon, and that this number, the social cost of carbon, is an equation set by the EPA. Um, I definitely recommend looking into that. And I think my favorite part about this fee is all the money that is going to be generated from the fee from folks who do install methane gas, because we can't ban gas. Anyone can still hook up to gas. That was one of the main things that people loved to talk like, oh, don't get in the way of my freedom and stuff like that to install gas, which is great. You do what you want to, but no one's banning you to do that. But if they did, all that money would go to an energy fund here in the town that we passed the first policy that helps low-income individuals meet their utility bills. So we are really excited about that because that is what climate justice is about. And originally, we didn't think council would pass that last part of to move that fee because here in rural Oregon and just rural towns in general, money is needed in every way they can. So we were really happy about that. This is more of a timeline of how the campaign started and until how we won. And something I emphasize is each part of this process, community was involved every step of the way. Community either helped by going to city council meetings themselves, going on our energy committee, joining that team, joining their meetings, getting the city of Ashland to actually set climate goals in the first place. So there's a reason they would even want to pass this policy. Um, so yeah, they had a student walkout and then council directs CPAC, that's our energy committee, to explore policies. And that step, we actually got two youth to hold positions on that committee, which was really strategic. It really helped us know what the committee was thinking and what they'd be recommending to council. Through that, holding community engagement sessions through all over the valley, Southern Oregon. Um, Working on the policies. This was all led by youth. This Road Climate Action Team. We have a lot of support through Lewis and Clark Law School up in Portland. They helped a lot with the actual policies and helped us navigate a lot of the legal barriers that were coming up during our campaign and helped us shift our asks and our demands to make it legally viable and possible. So we're really grateful to that. And yeah, that kind of connection grew from this community organizing and bringing people together. We met that way. Youth were also having lobby meetings with the counselors. These are meetings where you'd have a direct ask for folks, and we were asking our city councilors to commit to saying yes on imposing this fee. We finally got council to listen to us, and they directed staff to finally start writing their own policy. This is a very common thing in all forms of government, very bureaucratic, even though we had policies to give them, policies that were based on other states, and but they still wanted to do their own, which is okay. And the policies they made were exactly the same from the ones that we were trying to give to them. So that just took a while, and that's just something that we'll get into a bit later, but like how we kept ourselves motivated after things just seemed so redundant. Um, yeah, every time this was like a 2-year process, and we were going to city council meetings every time they had their meetings for 2 years. We did not let them ignore the demand for a policy like this. That's a key part of it. If you aren't pressuring your decision makers and you just kind of hide and be more passive, which can be strategic at times. It's very easy to ignore you most of the time, though. So we just kept showing up. We'd bring new community members. I'm wearing one of the shirts right now, but we like made these shirts that because in some council rooms they're really strict about like noises you can make or signs, but we wanted to show the council like that people were here as a group every single time. So we made these shirts so it would look cool, like you'd see this wave of blue. And through all that pressure, we finally got council to pass the first reading. Um, I, this was these terminologies are also very new to me too, so I don't know how similar they are to other city councils, but the first reading was just kind of like, here's the final policies staff made. Let's review them. The public had time to review. And then the next city council meeting, it was the second reading for any other yeah, problems or things they wanted to add. And at that meeting, they voted, and we got a unanimous yes vote, which is what we wanted. Seven out of the eight council members voted yes, which is great. So, sorry, there are eight council members, but one of them's the mayor. She only votes in the case of a tie. Yeah. So these are kind of our strategies that we used to, and I kind of mentioned some already, um, to get our win after 2 years. We were joining the city committees. And this was even before the walkout. Again, Road Climate's been a big part of the community for a while. So we were a key player in having the city set legally binding goals to their energy action plans. The city that we were targeting is called Ashland. They have a goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050, and that was set in 2017. And then from the walkout we saw that there wasn't any progress made, so really using that to hold them accountable to why they need to do this. And it was also really important that we were able to get this passed in a town like Ashland. Ashland's a very like liberal, very aware of climate, and they want to do stuff. And if we could pass a policy in our city council, we can actually get other cities to follow suit, like Eugene, Bend, Portland. We are working with a lot of their energy action groups, community organizing groups who are trying to pass similar policies, but facing a lot of hesitation from their councils because of the legal landscape nationally about other people trying to ban gas. No city wanted to be the first to pass something like this in the fear of being sued. But we were able to, yeah, get it passed. And yeah, I think it was really important now that it is part of policy. There is something other cities can look at and see that it is legally viable to pass something similar. So it's like a domino effect. Yeah, I talked about the strong presence at city council meetings. We try to get as many people to also give testimony. We really focused on the fact that we need to move away from fossil fuels. One, because of the climate crisis, but also two, affordability. That was a big talking point. Gas is just getting more and more and more expensive. It's going to continue getting more expensive. And here at Oregon, our electric utilities are cheaper. That was a big talking point we used. We got a lot of developers, housing advocates to sign on to this letter with data showing our council that was the case. And then we also went into the health aspect. I encourage you, oh, I should have had a link here, but there's this website called Beyond Toxics. They do a lot of education about methane gas and the effects on our health. They have a really cool video to show like how much gas is actually being used in your house, even with a vent, and how much you're breathing in, and how that really affects asthma rates, childbirth effects, all that stuff. So those were kind of the talking points we used when we try to lobby council through meetings or came to these meetings with testimonies. Yeah, we drafted the policy, which was launched to the public, forwarded by youth. We had our legal assistance. We weren't alone. That was more of the inside game. Some of the outside game, yeah, we had our sign-on letters. We had folks, yeah, housing advocates, different nonprofits here locally and in the state of Oregon, pushing the council to pass a policy. We also got folks to write op-eds, opinion letters to the editors. And yeah, those were we live in a town where people do still read the newspaper and like get their news from that. We have a more senior population too. So this was really great for folks to kind of see that the movement the youth started 2 years ago was not going away. It was still being presented throughout the news this entire time. We did walkouts, rallies, we did a lot of community events, we did a lot of educational events, but we also just had like a lot of art events, a lot of just events that regenerate our community because we think that's really important when you're taking action or in any activism space to really keep ourselves going. We need to have that fun and love to do the things that we do. So yeah, those were fun. Getting to host those and the youth team and that's more where that's a lot of where people get excited to do stuff more. And yeah, towards the end, working with other local businesses to help boost this information, especially towards the final vote. Um, yeah, just looking at time, I don't want to talk too much. I feel like I've been talking a lot. Let me just see how many more slides we got. Okay, we're almost done. Yeah, some of the struggles and strengths that we learned, you can kind of read them here. Inconsistent government leaders, legal complexities, the main legal complexity we had was our original ban on gas was something that Berkeley in California tried doing, but fossil fuel companies lobbied the city council and a lot of the community restaurant owners to overturn that policy. So the Ninth Circuit of the United States said you cannot ban gas like that. So we had to shift. So that was a big kind of defeat, but we're hoping sooner or later we can, yeah, move into a different direction with our federal courts. Yeah, maintaining engagement through a long process, it's hard, especially with such a technical policy. Like, how do you get community to feel really empowered by that or like feel like it's worth their time? We tried our best with these community events, but yeah, it's hard, especially in a time where people are like, are these little policies really going to make a change to the climate crisis we're dealing with? The strengths that we had in our campaign, persistence, we did not stop. We kept going, strong presence in all forms of uh, government through Ashland. Even Ashland City Council, they'd have little events where they'd just have coffee to talk to community, and we still showed up there because there were times where they did want to ignore us. Um, we do know there were fossil fuel companies in their ear, and that's the last thing I'm going to talk about and how we navigated that. But that was one of the biggest barriers. But yeah, you can see some of the other strengths, growing base, messages. Great. Lessons we've learned, more and more I wish I knew who published the report, but um the recent report came out with data from the last 10 years showing how much money fossil fuel companies have been using these last 10 years, over $10 billion to shut down local policies like the one that we tried pushing. They've been pretty successful, but that's kind of what we love about this win, that they weren't successful with us, that we were really able to shut them down. The last 2 months of the campaign, they started this whole fake our main utility company, Avista, has little like parent child companies that aren't associated with them, but they still have say share the same address and business title. They created this energy coalition and were sending texts, emails, um, sending letters to people's doorsteps about this policy that we were pushing and using all our talking points and just reversing them, talking about how electric is going to make things more expensive and how people of color specifically are going to be affected the most. And that, for me, that was like the biggest one where I'm like, you guys are just full of dirty tricks. Like y'all have never cared about any of these groups before, and now you're gonna pretend that you're doing this to protect the most vulnerable communities. And that's what we really kind of focused on to push back on this information. There's one thing we could have just kind of ignored it and stuff, but knowing our community and knowing the community's priorities, the ways that this gas coalition was trying to come at it just wasn't okay, and we called them out on it. We called them out in front of everyone about their association with our utility companies, their talking points, who they're being funded by. And because of that, we had even more people show up at the very final meeting because they saw how serious this was. If they Avista even had representatives drive all the way from Portland to come talk at the final meeting, and it was a mess because they didn't care about it until the very end, where they actually saw that we had the power to maybe actually get this passed. Um, and with all the misinformation and spreading awareness, even more people came to that final meeting than we expected because they saw how serious and important this was if we had a Vista in the same space as us trying to shut this down. Um, yeah, and there's other stuff, but I think the main things keep talking to your leaders, persistence. Yeah, power is the ability to act, to choose, and impact a situation. That's something we like to think about as we're going through our organizing. What kind of power we're using to make the change? Are we using the power within us to do it? And how are we using that power? Are we using the power to tell other people what to do? Or are we using our power to support our communities and supporting the people we know into enacting change? Power can be neutral, but also it can also have power dynamics. Um, Main takeaway, I hope I tried if hopefully my words made sense to everybody. But a lot of the times we're taught that social change comes from one person. I think a lot about the bus boycotts with Rosa Parks. We are told that this was just one person who decided not to sit at the back of the bus and take a stand. But in reality, this was a year-long multiple people, hundreds of people movement who were organizing these bus boycotts. It was many people involved in the process. And they don't just happen out of nowhere. These movements, they build from others and they're a coalition of others. Movements actually happen when people come together and collectively organize, and every person has a role to play. People need to feel that their actions are being used correctly and for change that benefits them and their community. And movements take a lot of planning, strategizing, and organizing. Lots of people. It's not a easy, easy thing. Yeah, here's just some photos that we of some of our events. We made some t-shirts, one of our more educational events. There's my email if you ever want to reach out. I don't know. I think Shane let me know that everyone's here from all over the United States, I think. But if you're here in Oregon or on the coast and just want to continue talking, or if you know anyone over here and you want to connect them with us to take some action, we're thinking of a new campaign here soon, and I think everyone's here pretty aware of like the call to action that is needed. So we're really excited to get something going and using our community power together. But that's it. If anyone has any questions, I don't really have time, but I appreciate you listening to me. Oh, there's people typing in the chat. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, this needs to be turned into a Netflix show. Yeah, we're working on a case study right now, actually, because we want to have like a printed format for community members and also community partners, specifically other youth groups, to kind of have an example for them, like how we did it and how they can do it too. That's something we want to show that not everyone has to have all the tools right away, that you can build up to it. So yeah. Um, yeah. Anyone else have any other questions? Totally okay if not. Yeah, yeah. If you email me, you could, yeah, we can talk. We have our website. It's just rogueclimate.org. Um, yeah. Also, does that make sense for an international student though? Yeah, I'm staying connected to, well, I follow a lot of community organizing groups throughout the nation because people share a lot of tools, and it's also really inspiring just to see who is doing what. We have an Instagram if y'all are on there. It's just Road Climate. We have Blue Sky as well, Road Climate. Facebook, Road Climate, but we don't know if we'll be using Facebook for that much longer. I appreciate everyone's time again. Thank you very much.